I ask for the truth on behalf of Cari J. Bennett Dukes concerning this darkness and emptiness that sits in her right now. And I ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the crow, the carrier of souls from darkness into light. And we cut the deck there for you, Cari. And where the deck splits is where it's thought to be at its most energetic point, as we ask for guidance and insight on your behalf. We'll just place the cards to the side and then we'll deal out 3 cards in a 3-card spread. It's a timeline basically, beginning, middle and end. In this case it'll be, the first card is the recent past influence. This is about a period of time, about 3 or 4 weeks or so ago. I usually say a moon phase behind. And then the present influence, that's of course Cari right now there, Cari right now. And maybe it's probably no doubt the result of what's happened or the effect of, and obviously maybe the cause of the immediate future, which is the next energy there. And that's about a moon phase ahead, just like the recent past was a moon phase behind. This is about a moon phase ahead here, and that talks about 3 or 4 weeks or so into the foreseeable future, as you could call it, if there's such a thing. Of course there is, when we do magic in that regard. And of course, given the fact each position in the spread each card will have a meaning or an interpretation, you use the meaning of that card, as you could say. Say for example the first card, the recent past influence. So the meaning of this card here will be relevant to your recent past and the question that you've asked. I'm a poet and don't know it. Basically, and we relate the interpretation of that card to the question you've asked and the circumstance, the situation that you're in, and we view it as past tense. And this is what Spirit has given us first. You could say, really, in a way, this is, I suppose, establishing the situation, the story so far, or matters arising from the last committee meeting, as you would say. So let's just get this card here. We'll bring it round there, and what we'll do is we'll flip the card nice and slowly so we don't disturb the energy. Just nice and steady there, and then we'll see what the card is. And as you can see there, you've got Justice. Justice, because it's got like a Libra energy to it, hasn't it? So it's to do with balance, to do with equalising situations, whatever. Crowley calls the Justice, he calls that adjustment, which I suppose is the same thing, isn't it? I've got a funny feeling though from just looking at the card and seeing the card here, and I've got my reading glasses on, of course I can see it a bit better. I sort of got like justice in the literal sense, as though maybe you've been seeking justice, given what you've been on about, what your question was when you posted to the group about domestic violence issues and the sad loss of your child there because of it, and and so on. I get this sort of feeling from this this energy is here. Crow is here really, just saying that you have recently been seeking justice, literally in that sense. I mean, who wouldn't? You know, I suppose that's the question. Who wouldn't really, in that regard? Justice, of course, the card Justice is from the Major Arcana. Well, what's that? Well, in a pack of tarot cards, you have two decks, really. You've got the 22 Major Arcana and the 56 Minor Arcana. Your 56 Minor Arcana are really the 52 playing cards with the 4 Cavaliers taken away, or the four Knaves, or Pages, as you call them. No, they're not. It's the Knights that they take away. Or in the Crowley deck, of course, it'll be the Princes that they take away. And of course, the Jack is the Princess, and of course the Knave or the Page is the Jack, isn't it? Knave, Princess, whatever, Jack, and then Queen and King, and so on. And that's your regular backpack of playing cards. I suppose really you wouldn't play with playing cards if you knew what they were, but that's beside the point. And I usually call them the elemental because, of course, they're to do with air, fire, water and earth. For example, the Queen of Hearts, as you would say, is the Queen of Cups, isn't it? And in this particular case, you've got a Major Arcana card. So you've got one of the esoteric cards from the esoteric deck, the Major Arcana cards. The Major Arcana obviously literally does point toward that something major, and of course the Minor Arcana is more minor, literally in that sense, that with Minor Arcana energies you've got power to change things that's been spoke of, whereas the Major Arcana cards don't seem to give you a choice. It doesn't necessarily mean they're all negative, because there's positive and negative, just like there's hopes and fears within us all. Justice, I suppose, is you've had no choice just recently to seek justice, and of course to make adjustments. If you understand what that is there. With the Crowley deck, often you see a tower being not a tower, but the justice there is adjustment. Of course, you've got the sword and the scales normally, and that tends to I suppose focus on that, but. Here I always tend to focus on this part of the deck as the fire here, as if whatever it is has been consumed in the fire, has been burnt away or burnt or purged away, or whatever it is. And it's about clearing out the clutter maybe, or something like that. Why was so focused on as a variable capacitor? I don't know. It's from your ham radio, that sort of thing. And actually, variable capacitor is a straight line with two lines across in the middle there. But I always tend to focus that as a variable capacitor. It is the symbol for a variable capacitor, actually. You just stick it in the circuit diagram there. That's of course the component you use to tune an aerial, or you tune a coil. You have a coil of wire. You just have a wire going from positive to negative of a battery, and then you just in between you have a coil of wire at one end, and then in parallel with it, in line with it, you have a capacitor, so you can tune the capacitance of the inductance or whatever the aerial is picking up, and then that's how you get your radio stations things, and just stick a resistor or something or whatever there just to make it DC, and then well, a diode then, and then you just pop that pair of headphones on, and there you are. But when I was thinking of that sort of thing, the capacitance, as if the capacitance or your capacity to deal with the situation varies. Why I'm focusing on that, I don't know. I don't usually sort of say, oh, I'll see that there and that there, I'll focus on that and that and that, whatever. I'm just looking at that there and thinking, just like a variable capacitor tunes in a radio station and discriminates on frequency so you can get the right radio station or whatever. Because, I mean, a coat hanger will pick up everything at once, it's just you have to tune it in, basically. And this is a similar sort of thing with what's been going on with you just recently, in the sense of, I suppose, to clear out the clutter and to consume certain things in the fire, you've needed the capacity to do it, but it's been a capacity, like a variable type of capacity. It changes over time, your abilities have changed and sort of waxed and waned, sort of like the moon, you know, in that sort of sense. It's gone up and down accordingly. It's been a bit unstable, although concentrated, because a variable capacitor, as you know, although it varies and you can tune to different frequencies with it, or you can tune the coil and the aerial to different frequencies, nevertheless it is focused and tuned wherever you tune it. It is nevertheless focused on whatever it's doing. So nobody's not likely accusing you of not being focused in any way, but certainly your focus on whatever situation just recently over the past 3 or 4 weeks or so has sort of kept fluctuating and changing. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? And shall I do the other? In some sort of attempt to make adjustments and make changes. And I suppose you've fallen victim to the oldest one in the book, haven't you, where the more things change, the more they remain the same. That's pretty old, that. If you've discovered that, then welcome to planet Earth. Really, that's all you can say to that one. I'm focusing as well on, like, although it's more of a reddy colour, more like a base chakra colour, I'm focusing on the orange here behind the crow. Notice the crow there, and then this deck, Crow is king. And we've asked Crow for Crow's energy to guide and heal, protect or whatever at the moment. And Crow has appeared in the form of justice in that sense. It's like it's a humanoid figure there with the crow perched on the shoulders as if to make the head. The crow is the carrier of the soul from darkness into light. The crow is the healer. The carrion crow eats the dead flesh off the earth, all the dead birds and dead mice and whatever. And a bit like a healing process in the sense he heals the ground, a bit like the garbage man of nature. He clears up after everybody else. Maybe the way I'm saying that, isn't that a strange thing, just saying that, then clears up after everybody else? As if you've been given this, you feel as though you've been given this task to clear up after everybody else. And maybe that's what it is. I suppose that's what justice is, isn't it? Even when you take somebody to court or something like that, you're trying to clear up after somebody else, aren't you? You're trying to put things right and bring things back into some sort of order again. If you're trying to change it, of course, I don't know, but certainly, as I've said, the more things change, the more they remain the same. So you can have a good, give it your best shot, can't you? If you get what I mean. But like I say, I'm just getting this sort of feeling as though you are trying to make adjustments. You're varying your technique, or you're varying what you want to adjust. You're not saying you fail at one thing and then try something else. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Yeah, that would be sticking to the same thing. But certainly you're trying different things, maybe so you don't get bored with any particular thing. Don't let boredom set in. That's what they often say, isn't it? Of course, it's how it's affected you now, which is what I want to look at next. We can see what that's about, and then we can sort of like marry the two, join the two cards together, join the two meanings to see what the effect of this has been upon you. And this will be the middle card here. This is Cari there right in the middle right now, of course. And regardless of what you did then, you can't define yourself by what you did back then. Regardless of any negative, regardless of the darkness that you were in, and whatever. Nevertheless, you can't define yourself by that darkness. You can only really define yourself by either the darkness that you're still in, or the light that you're being drawn toward. I don't know what's Crow having to say about that. Let's just see. We'll get the card again like we did before, and we'll just flip it over as we said, nice and slow before, as we did before. We do it again here, but we'll nice and steady there, just to see what that card is. Just hold that up now. Notice that you got the King of Coins. The king. Notice there's a tiger spirit there. This deck tends to use animal spirits, which gives me an idea just for a bit later on. Notice there again, Crow is king, just in the background there, as you can see, just to the right hand side there. Just to remind you that maybe, that's got a Taurus, Capricorn and Virgo sort of feel to it, that one has. I don't know if you saw that then. As I'm mentioning the tiger, what's the tiger? Well, the tiger really represents the willpower. Understand thou thine own will, love, and let love rejoice in the shape of love, and get thy rapture and thy nourishment thereof. But also notice it's a minor arcana card. Can you see that? It's basically the King of Diamonds. That's basically what that card is. Not basically, it is, effectively. I'm saying it again. But of course the King of Diamonds is the King of Coins, or the King of Discs, as Crowley calls it. This says, of course, what is discs? What is coins? Well, coins is to do with the element of earth. And the king there is to do with the element of fire. So you could call that the fiery part of earth, couldn't you? In the sense that fire is to do with the number 1, which is spiritual essence, and linked to ones as well, and to do with spiritual essence. And then earth, of course, is to do with the number 10, which is the physical vehicle. So for as much as you say the fiery part of earth, you could say the spiritual essence of the physical vehicle, couldn't you? As if somehow that which is physical and manifest, or whatever, as a spirit to it, as an essence, a spiritual essence attached to it. Fire, of course, is linked to energy. So you could say energy of matter, because earth is matter. So you could say energy of matter, as if matter or something material has been given energy or been energized. Why is other than earth being to do with being grounded and material and matter, etc. Fire, what's that? Why is it to do with energy? Well, fire is thought to be energy because of the sun that transits the meridian at its strongest point due south. When the sun is at midday, like it's just struck here midday, then of course it's at its strongest point, it starts moving away again. The chariot of the Thor's chariot of fire, being pulled by the two horses, or Earth, Wake and All Spirit that pull Thor's chariot, the chariot of fire that goes across the sky. When that gets to its strongest point, it's then carries on its journey back down the other side and then sets again. It's called the sun. Just in case you wondered what I was talking about, as if you didn't know. In this particular case, of course, as you can see, that's why fire is related to energy, the spirits of the south, as you'd say, the watchtowers of the south. So it's as if whatever's material is being given energy. Usually the king of coins represents a man or a person, or a person's character, in the sense of they're at the peak of their achievements from a wealth point of view, from an earthly point of view. They've got money in the bank and they can sit there pretty, as you could say. That's the general sort of way you just quickly look at it and say that. But of course, in this case, of course, it's to do with willpower. In a sense that the tiger spirit says to you right now that you're being called upon really to take charge of the situation, and you've got to trust in yourself that you're capable of fulfilling that task. And which does place the responsibility on you, doesn't it, really? Why is that? I didn't ask to be born into the world, and yet I'm given a name by somebody that, a name that isn't really me. It's just somebody gives me a bloody name, and I'm stuck with something somebody else has given me. And then all of a sudden, I'm bloody responsible for every damn action I do. Any action I take, I'm responsible for. I didn't ask to even be bloody born into this bloody world. For some strange reason, all of a sudden, I'm responsible for everything I do. Which, well, you brought me into the bloody world. Why aren't you bloody responsible? Why can't I pass the buck to the boss who brought me into the world in the first place? You can't blame your mother or your father. Blame bloody God, or somebody else. If they blame your grandparents. Or how far back do you want to go, though, that you can blame for that, though? Do you blame your grandparents for having your parents for having you, or do you blame your great-grandparents, or do you just say, well, maybe someone's to blame, but responsibility, they're two totally separate things, aren't they? So I am responsible for my actions. Yes, whoever it was that brought this darkness into your life is responsible for their actions, and the karma is theirs, of course, naturally. But of course the karma is yours for any actions that you take. You nevertheless have a responsibility, maybe not so much to not do bad to others, which isn't really anybody's true intention, but it's maybe not to do bad to yourself. Maybe you have a responsibility towards yourself, to take charge of the situation, in the sense of your situation that you are in. This isn't my situation. I'm not the one in this situation. For as dark and as bad as it is, I am not in the situation. It's you that's in it. It's your situation, and thus you are the one who is responsible to put it right. But certainly you are responsible to take charge of that situation. Well, of course, this sickness within me, I can't do anything because of that, and if only I could hold my child once more and kiss him once more and whatever. The fact of the matter is, Bryce is in the Summerlands, isn't he? He's in the light of love. He's I won't say out of it, but he's away from that which was the cause of his passing, but nevertheless he's not suffering anymore. A lot of people say, well, sometimes when people are taken like that, or in certain ways, are they stuck between this world and the next? No, It's a bit like in and out, isn't it? There's not sort of in and sort of out. You don't have an inside of a cup and an outside of a cup. Well, you do. You have an inside and outside of a cup. You don't have a sort of an inside and a sort of an outside. And this is why I don't particularly believe in the theory where spirits get stuck between this world and the next. It's like being stuck between the handle and the cup. You can't do it. You're either in the cup or you're outside the cup. You either have a coffee in the cup or it spills everywhere. There's no sort of in between, is there? Really, there's an inside and an outside, and you know what the inside is because you know what the outside is, and vice versa, don't you? You know what love is because you recognise hate, or you know what light is because you know what darkness is. You know what up is because you know where down is. And that's the same sort of thing. Is Bryce okay? Well, he's not suffering anymore, so theoretically logic would say yes. But that's another subject that probably could be revisited some other time, maybe. Of course, with this so far, as we've established, Crow is there. Of course, Crow is king, moves from justice, moves from trying to carry you out of the darkness into the light. And he's on the journey as if he's in the twilight before the sunrise. Remember, the darkest hour is before the sunrise, isn't it? They say the darkest hour is before the dawn, as they say. That's the saying, isn't it? The darkest hour is before the dawn. And are you prepared for the crack of dawn when the light is there? You must. You're being told now before the crack of dawn. Whilst you're in your darkest hour, you're being told by Crow. Crow is just saying to you, Cari, you must take charge of this situation, and trust in yourself that you can do what needs to be done. The tiger is there. Notice tiger is a four-legged spirit. What's that about? Well, Crow is a winged spirit, the winged ones, as you could call them, the bird people. Because we're all people, we just look different, don't we? Some of us have big wet noses and wag our tails, or in this case, some of us stripes on us and big muzzles there, and sit nice and proud. And others, we have wings and we fly and do what we want. The bird people, like the crow, for example, they are the guides. Well, they're the guides because they are thought to carry the messages from the heavens to the earth. So they're like the winged angels, like the wings of an angel symbolises the movement of a message, where the word angel means message. The wings of the angel symbolises the movement of that message. In that respect. And Crow, of course, there is then, you could say, an animal spirit guide, isn't he? He's a guide. He's recently been providing guidance for you as you've tried to make adjustments, although you've had the capacity to maybe be versatile. Excuse me. Although you've had the capacity, as I tend to lock onto that there, the variable capacity to be versatile in your capacity to deal with certain things. Because remember, you've got to be very strong if you're going to fall all the time. Crowley said that one must fall many times before one is raised up. And of course, the more you fall, the higher you will be raised. Of course, those at the top, ironically, fall the furthest, don't they? Of course. So that's another thing to consider. He never seems to get any better, does he? He always seems to sort of just as like one step forward, two steps back, and and there's always just seems to be something trying to sort of get at you or stop you in your tracks, you know. But yes, of course, the Crow is the guide. So you could say there was guidance in the recent past, and Crow's guidance was there to help you adjust to the situation, bring some balance, and to equalise certain things in your life. Of course, justice in the literal sense of the word is high. Sort of locked onto straight away, maybe naturally anyway. From a logical standpoint, although it doesn't always work on logic, but usually common sense and logic does help. It does help to think logically, but when you use intuition, I suppose, sometimes logic and sort of intellect and that goes out the window, doesn't it, sometimes? You've got to throw it out the window. Especially when things happen without rhyme or reason. But the guidance there, of course, in the recent past. And then, of course, notice how Crow carries on that guidance through to the now, where he's in the background. Although you don't see him, nevertheless he's there behind you. I suppose you could say he's beside you, really. But because you don't look to the side, you don't see him there. Because like with all spirit guides, you don't expect them to take don't expect them to take the lead, because it doesn't necessarily mean they will follow you, and don't follow them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will take the lead. But a spirit guide, an animal spirit guide especially, you must walk beside them, in hand, as you would say. But Crow is there behind you, watching you and helping you into the light. Although it's a bit like that Footprints poem. I always tend to focus on that now and again, where of course the single set of footprints, you think that's you and it isn't. It's somebody carrying you, you know. It's that sort of thing. You hear the wings flapping and you think they're your wings, and they're not, they're his. That sort of thing. But now, of course, since you've been given the guidance, maybe this guidance could have come in the form of legal advice. It could be that serious in that sense. It could be that serious. If the one who's done what they've done, or they are alleged to have done, has gone to jail for it, or been prosecuted for that. If when somebody's guilty of something, if we say they're guilty of something, are they guilty of it, or is it just that we say that because that's our take on it? That's one thing. But if, of course, they are guilty of something, then they must be brought to book for that. In this world, because Crow is about ethics as well, and Crow promotes ethics. And if there's something you haven't done that needs to be done, then do it. Take charge of the situation. While it's okay to sort of imply, while you're wallowing in your own pity party, feeling sorry for yourself and all that sort of thing, you're not taking charge of the situation. Get a grip of it, for God's sake, girl, get a grip of yourself. Pull yourself together. That is easier said than done, we know. That is easier said than done, and it's easy to accuse you of something negative because you're not doing it. It's a bit like I heard somebody once say, that person over there is very secretive. They are clearly hiding something. I said, no, you're just nosy and want to know everything about them, and they just don't want to tell you their business. And their reply was, no, I'm not nosy, they are just not being open. Which is really an open admission to their being nosy. It's just passing the blame onto them for not telling them. And this is this is the sort of thing that may be going on here with you, in the sense of maybe, yes, you could be passing the buck on to others and passing the blame on to others. It's their fault because of things going wrong for me and whatever. But not so much their fault, but it's your responsibility nevertheless to stay, basically, don't let the bastards grind me down. I'm not going to let the bastards grind me down. I'm going to take charge of the situation for my sake, not for their sake, but for my sake. I will, well, not for God's sake or anybody else's sake, but for my sake, I will take charge of the situation and do what I can for me. I don't know what the paraphrase is if we sort of pass the buck on to somebody else instead of that. I don't know what that would be. But certainly you notice, of course, there that I always tend to focus on like the orange, and I said there as well. Although it's a reddish sort of colour, I tend to focus on orange, like the gut chakra. Although that's yellow, isn't it, really? Roy G. Beth, red, orange, yellow, green, blue and green. Well, that's more sort of basey. And nevertheless, I tend to focus on the gut chakra, the yellow of the gut chakra. Although I say it's more basey, really. More as though you feel it, I suppose, in the solar plexus, not solar plexus, in the gut, or just below the gut there, you feel it down there. Why I'm sort of feeling is that that's where you're on about how this sickness within you, yes, it could be, of course, the mental illness or the effect that it has on you psychologically, but of course that can have a physical effect sometimes, can't it? Stress can bring out physical problems, I suppose, like seizures or anything like that. They can bring that out in people. Anything stress related can have a physical effect. And I got as though this is what's going on, as though it is, like you say, it's having an effect on your health, and this is how. In the spirit of the card there, the triangle above the square, of course, in the essence of the card of the energy of the justice there, the major arcana energy that you've got, there's more of a permanent, not permanent fixture, but more of a permanent thing in the sense you had no power over it. It affected you in essence in the spirit of things, it affected your spirit. Whereas now it's affecting you, but behind it in the background, it's all like as if it's always there. But Crow is with it, saying yes, it's always there, but remember it's still light in the darkness. For as dark or as musty as that may be there, it's still light in the darkness, and I can carry you through it into the dawn. Yes, you're in the darkest hour, but you must take charge of the situation, and only you, lady, can do something about that. Because the one responsible for all this isn't going to do it, so you must take on that responsibility. I always tend to say, why is it? The question I always ask is, why is it that the bloody victim always has to be the one who makes the first move? What the hell's that about? What's going on there? We're going to see what's going to go, sort of, what's just around the corner potentially. Of course, if it's a minor arcana card like the King of Coins, then of course it clearly indicates that you'll have power you'll be able to have power to change it in some way. If it's a major arcana card, then you don't. But it doesn't necessarily mean it to be a negative type of energy there. A major arcana card. I spoke too soon. Judgment. So we've basically gone from justice to judgment. Notice there the Sagittarius sort of part of that variable capacitor, because that's like an arrow going through a capacitor, isn't it, through the two lines. I just locked onto that. Sagittarius, of course, is magic, isn't it, to do with magic and the occult and things like that. Usually, that's how I've always understood it. I could be wrong. Usually, it's not very often I'm right and then bloody wrong again. Let's just put it that way. But either way, regardless of that, we've gone from the justice there, in the sense of adjustment, trying to seek adjustment, consuming the negativity in the fire, or clearing out the clutter, or trying to, in that regard, or whatever. But nevertheless, it's now for you to take charge of the situation and get maybe the justice that you feel you deserve. As I said before, it's easy to accuse somebody of wallowing in a pity party, feeling sorry for themselves, and oh well, you can't say that, it's easier said than done, let's all snap out of this. But maybe in a way that could be the truth. That could be the truth in the sense of, well, the person who's done this to you, every time you think about what that sounds it's he, of course, every time you think about what he has done, he is doing it again to you. And every time you talk about it, he is doing it again to you. Every time you remind yourself on about it, he's doing it again. Even though he's not there, he's only done it once. But nevertheless, you are allowing him to get at you. He's very much in charge of the situation, actually. But you have the opportunity now to take charge. Remember, because it's a minor arcana card, you have the opportunity to take charge of the situation, literally. And you can change it. You can turn this around. You can say, no, I'm not going to let this get at me. I'm not going to let the bastard grind me down any longer. I'm not going to wallow in my pity party. Yes, I can grieve. No harm in grieving, it's a natural thing. But I'm not going to allow it to get at me, because every time I allow it to get at me, yes, the death of my son is a terrible thing. I'm not saying I'm not going to not allow that to get at me, because it does. It eats me every bloody minute of the bloody day. But the fact that the person who's done this, who's caused this, every time I'm unable to do things for myself, I'm allowing him to stop. I'm sort of enabling him, and he's stopping me from doing it, and I'm enabling it by allowing him to go. Is he worth that? Is he really worth that much that you should allow him to get at you? Well, that's easier said than done. Isn't it? Unless there's this point of introspection in the immediate future there with the moon, of course, as you can see. Notice how the doors open. For as much as that's judgment, and usually the judgment card here usually is the day of judgment, with the angel Gabriel blowing the trumpet at the last day. And you've got people who are wearing garments around their waist, as you would say, and naked people. And they're coming out of the graves, as you could say, on the last day. The saying on the last day is, all are naked before the Lord, and we will be judged for, you can't hide anything. A bit like, to dust do we come from and to dust do we go, or we come with nothing and we leave with nothing, and that. All are naked before the Lord. And anybody who's tried to lie all their life or whatever will be revealed. Their sins will be found out and will be held naked before the Lord. And like I say, the ones with the garments who are covered up, because of, you see, the naked people, you know what's under that cover, don't you? You know that cover will be removed, because that cover, of course, all are naked before the Lord. That cover will be removed, and their sins will be found them out. Well, I suppose you could say the naked ones are the ones who've been revived because they were accused wrongfully, and yet it's revival for them, isn't it, in that sense, when they sort of rise up on the last day, as you would say, and are judged by God or whatever. They are like they are revived because I told you so. I wasn't guilty or whatever. I mean, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So we're all in the shit, basically, regardless of that. But that's the sort of thing. The one who wear the clothes are the one who tried to cover it up, but their cover will be removed, and all are naked before the Lord. And you can cover yourself up for as much as you want, but nevertheless, I suppose in the traditional decks you see the ones covered up, and then in the foreground you see that the arse of the one who's naked. But you know what's the other side if they turn round, don't you? So it sort of, all are sort of revealed, even though they're trying to hide it, even though they turn away from you. You know what's there. And this is the sort of thing in your immediate future where we know what it is. We know who's guilty, or we know what the sin is, if they cover it up or not. We know what they're covering up. That's why we know to cover up, because we know they're covering up, assuming it is a cover up. But the doors will open. In this particular deck, Crow is saying there will be an awakening, in the sense of, yes, you can cover up your ability to take charge of the situation and just say, I'm just totally helpless and can't do anything for myself. Please feel sorry for me and take pity on me, and cry, aren't I a fucking wreck to be pitied. But that won't project hatred toward the one who's done it. It won't help anybody blame the one who's responsible. It'll probably just, as I say, it'll probably just make people think of you as a, well, can't she get over this? She hasn't got the nerve to sort of, you know, if I was her, I'd have the audacity at least to not let the bastard grind me down. But she seems as though she's allowing him to do it to her again and again and again. He's been sort of domestically violent in that way, and she's allowing that domestic violence to continue because she's going on about it, and she's not trying to take charge of the situation. Well, now you have the opportunity to take charge of the situation, and this is probably why maybe you have asked Spirit for guidance, because it's time for Spirit to say, take charge of the situation, believe in yourself and trust in yourself that you are capable of doing that, and then the door will open, in the sense of you will awaken to the truth. Because justice, yes, is about not judgment, but certainly about certainly adjustment and putting things right, clearing out the clutter, recognising good from bad, up from down, this from that, yes from no, light from darkness, and so on. But of course, judgment is about making that decision, isn't it? And nevertheless being awakened to that and changing, sort of metamorphose, a bit like the metamorphosis of a butterfly. You've been a caterpillar for long enough. You could say, from a crude sort of angle, feeling sorry for yourself sitting on that leaf. But now you've eaten the leaf, you've got nothing to sit on, you've got to move on, you've got to grow wings. And maybe those wings are a metaphor for you being an angel, in the sense that you can carry a message and that you can carry guidance to others who have been through a similar or same sort of situation that you are in, who may have lost children throughout whatever it is that's happened. And maybe that is a thing. Yes, on the last day all are naked before the Lord, and all will be found out. But nevertheless, it could be an opportunity just round the corner between this time and this time next month. Could be an opportunity for you, Cari, to literally revive, instead of, I suppose, wallowing in your own, not guilt, but certainly your own sort of not self-pity even. You could call it that just for the sake of argument, your own self-pity and guilt that you impose upon yourself. Because you were told that you were useless, which is usually what happens in control freakery situations. The one being controlled is usually told that they're useless. How you control something that's useless, I don't know. I mean, if I've got a vacuum cleaner that's useless, I throw it out. I don't sit there saying you are a useless vacuum cleaner. I just don't do that, you know. But of course, there is no rhyme or reason to like control freakery and psychological abuse, is there? And of course, when it gets physical and violent, that's when you've got to make that decision, haven't you? That yes, sticks and stones may not break my bone, may break my bones, and names won't hurt me. But nevertheless, the names that could hurt me, if I let them hurt me, are in a body that can be broken. Sticks and stones can break my bones, and of course, if bones can be broken, let's get out of here in case bones are something is done to break the bones where my soul resides within, as you would say. That shell that could end up empty if I'm not sort of savvy enough to get out of it, in the sense of take charge of the situation, even if I am out of the marriage or the relationship or whatever, get out of this rut that I've allowed myself to get into. Because regardless of that, yes, to some degree the karma is yours, in the sense if there's an opportunity for you to better yourself, but to certainly get yourself out of the rut by not allowing others to bring you down, then it's up to you to raise yourself up from it. One must fall many times before one is raised up, yes, but the question then is how many times? Many is like saying how long is a piece of string, isn't it? Really, and this is the thing, isn't it? How long do you cover up the guilt, in the sense of not so much we know who's guilty for the violence, we know who's guilty for that or whatever, but how long do you cover up your own guilt, in the sense of being guilty for not doing something? You're literally guilty of not doing something, as opposed to guilty of doing something. You're now, you'll end up being accused, or I would accuse you of doing nothing about it. And of course, evil prospers when good people do nothing. But when they say evil prospers when good men do nothing, I often say, how good are those men who do nothing? It doesn't say much about their goodness if they choose to do nothing. So that's an oxymoron to a degree, isn't it? That's a bit like an irony, sort of paradox or oxymoron, or whatever you want to call it. How good are those men who do nothing if evil prospers? But that's just saying, if you do bugger all about it, then bugger all is going to happen to you. And of course, that's what karma is, isn't it? Cari, in the sense, I'm not a human being, I am being human. Humaning is my doing, and I have a responsibility to be human. And regardless of what happens, and regardless of what the environmental factors are, or the environmental cause of, or whatever, how positive or negative it is, nevertheless, I have a responsibility towards myself, to be human, and anything, not just so much what I do, the Cari or the karma, there is a response to that, but nevertheless, anything I don't do that I should have done. Well, the benefit of hindsight is a wonderful thing. You often hear them say that, don't you? If only I'd have done this, that wouldn't have happened. If only I'd have done that, that would have happened, or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, what has happened has happened. Regardless of if it was your fault, his fault, whoever's fault it was happened. Or not so much your fault, it may be just responsibility. Maybe it was his fault, but your responsibility. He's to blame, but you are responsible. In the sense of, you are not to blame for a particular situation, but you are responsible maybe for getting out when you could have done and didn't, and you're now blaming yourself forever and a day for that. Well, you know, so maybe the thing that you did was what you didn't do, which is what you should have done, which is get out. You should have took charge then, I don't know. But now you've been given the opportunity to take charge with the minor arcana card. A major arcana card, of course, this states that recently you did have no choice, even if you could have done it. So to say, well, you could have done this, you could have done that, you couldn't. What happened, happened, and Crow says that. And what is about to happen, you won't have much choice over neither, in the sense of you will awaken. If you take charge of the situation, I don't know, but there's a high chance. But you will metamorphose, you will turn into a butterfly regardless. The caterpillar will turn into a butterfly. It's just if it lives to do it, if it eats enough of the leaf, it will live to see itself be a butterfly. In the sense, it will see itself butterflying. In the sense, doing the act of being a butterfly. The karma for eating leaves as the action or the reaction of karma. It's not really about so much cause and effects. It's just like life and death. They both go together. So eating a leaf goes together with becoming a butterfly, just like doing something about it goes with awakening and doors opening. But of course, I suppose you can read that in a positive or negative way, and that's why I don't read reverse cards here, because assume you didn't do anything, assume you didn't take charge and carried on wallowing in your own self-pity, feeling sorry for yourself or whatever it is other people who don't understand keep saying about you, then that judgment becomes maybe other people's judgment on you. The doors open, you awaken to the fact you awaken to the fact of what you could have done, and it'll be carrying on as if only, but that you will have been judged for it in some regard. Notice the eagle there representing your spirit, listening to your higher self. Of course, your higher self will probably then start ramming shit down you and into the sun. Well, not shit, but certainly ramming and remind you on, well, you should have done that. However, on the other hand, if you do take charge of the situation and trust yourself that you can do it, the tiger is there, you've got the choice, remember, then of course you do awaken, you do metamorphose, in the sense you become the butterfly, but you decide to find a destination to fly to. So you can get more food, or you can help other caterpillars, or you can breed, as you would say in the metaphorical sense, and breed more caterpillars that can probably have a better chance in life than the so-called chance that you feel that you have lost out on. Of course, that could, in the sense, as I said, come in the form of helping other people, counselling other people, helping others, even if it just means helping yourself by helping others. In that, God helps those who help themselves, in the sense of helping yourself come to terms with it by sharing your experience with others. You don't have to sort of give them your full name, your bank account details, your address and your full date of birth and everything. It's not about that. It's about giving them your situation and just talking about it. Maybe if there's a group on Facebook, if you're stupid enough to do things on the internet, then of course you take that. That's another risk we don't talk about, but we know what the risks are there, don't we? I don't think face-to-face is a better sort of option when you're doing things like that, because you can sense their aura, you can sense, you can look them in the face, can't you, literally, you're physically there with them. And maybe this is what I'm sort of still getting here, that you've got an opportunity for as much of the bad that's happened to you, you have a chance now. You haven't got much chance sort of back then because that's happened. You may not have much chance in the immediate future, as you would say, for the foreseeable future, because that's when the judgment comes, that's when decision time comes. But certainly now, because it's a minor arcana energy, certainly now you have got a choice. And you can take charge of this situation. I can do this. I won't let the bastard grind me down. Yes, what's happened is a terrible thing. It must be terrible for a mother to lose a son or a daughter at any age, especially in the sense of the age, losing a child, maybe baby in the crib or whatever, as is now, because of the potential Uh, I mean, we could be missing a president of the United States because of it. We could be missing a great poet or author or scientist who might have discovered the cure to cancer, but now they're not there. But this is the sort of thing that you tend to view, well, you know, nevertheless, we are going to die, aren't we? And that makes us the lucky ones, as Dawkins would say. We are the lucky ones. Even your son, who's now in the Summerlands there, he's one of the lucky ones. We're all going to die because some people will never be born. And the chances of being here in our ordinariness, or even evil in the way that we do evil and disrespect life, nevertheless, it's us in our ordinariness who are here, instead of the great poets and the great scientists and the presidents of the United States or prime ministers of Britain that can probably sort the countries out and sort the world out. But they aren't here. We're here instead. We've got to make do with what we've got. A bit like all the plastic and pollution in the ocean and things like that. We've got this earth and that's it. We've got to make do with it what we will. And in this situation, it's the same with you. You've got what you've got. It's happened. Shit happens. We know, and it's easier said than done. Yes, we know it is. We know it's bloody easier said than done. But nevertheless, I want to pull out some. Talking about animal spirits, weren't we? And how birds guide, and of course the tiger spirit there's a four-legged spirit. So the four-legged spirits protect, don't they? Notice you've got guidance there again in your immediate future with the judgment that no doubt could be your higher self even passing on that guidance. But the tiger, of course, is four-legged and walks on the earth and protects. Your own willpower and your ability to take charge of the situation will protect you. And tiger is there saying, I represent that part, that soul part of you that has got lost in the void. You sort of feel as though you've got this inability to not so much decide what you want, but just take the relevant action. And you don't feel as if you've got the go in you to do it. Well, tiger spirit can heal you and fetch that. We just ask on behalf of Cari here for just a bit of additional guidance, I think, considering what we've been talking about here. And I just want to just ask the spirit of Raven and all the power animal spirits, we ask for your guidance. Blessed be to Raven and all the power animal spirits who guide, heal and protect. We're about power animals here, of course. These are like the animal spirits who can get things going, give it a bit of kick, as you would say, to the situation. Of course, tiger at the moment you could class as a power animal if you use his energy right. Let's just see what we'll do. We'll place 3 of these out, and we'll place the first one on the recent past, where Crow is there as justice, where it's about adjustment. What sort of energy there? Look at that, the butterfly. What did I tell you? You wouldn't believe me, would you? You just don't believe me. Everything I say seems to go in one ear, out the other, doesn't it? Well, there you go. The butterfly, but your butterfly in this particular case, for you, is transformation, as in the recent past. I was on about it here in the immediate future, but it's something that's been going on there. It looks as though, yes, it's just saying get ready for a big breakthrough, and maybe that's what it was, that you were getting ready for a big breakthrough just recently there with the justice. That's what the adjustment's been all about then, is it? Now we understand. If only I'd have pulled that card straight away before. Now I'm beginning to sort of say the benefit of hindsight is a wonderful thing. If only I'd have pulled that bloody card before, we could have dealt with that one. And whatever. But nevertheless, it's come out at the right time when it's supposed to come out, hasn't it? If there's such a thing. And that just really, as I supposed to say, it indicates that transformation, you've been experiencing what you've been experiencing because of the transformation, the situation itself, of course, transforming as well. I want to just take a look at what's going on here, where, of course, we said that you know you've got to take charge of the situation, or Tiger Brother says that. Tiger can protect you, Crow can guide you, and you can protect yourself in that sense. But you've got power to change things right now. What? Let's just see what. Let's just see what maybe here, there, sort of ish. I don't know what that means, sort of ish. You got the dragonfly, just indicating illusion. An illusion, of course, that just says you know who you really are. And this, I suppose, is what it's about, isn't it? In the sense that you can take charge of your situation, not let the bastards grind you down, not let him keep on physically abusing you every time you think about it. If you take charge, because you know who you really are, and you know that you're capable of doing that, really. Only you can do this. This is your situation. Regardless, you can cry for help to other people, and yes, those cries can be heard, and people can listen, and people can advise, maybe, as we're trying to do here. But only you know who you really are. You're the one who really knows. When you take charge of the situation, which you've got the opportunity now, no time like the present, let's get off our fat arse and do something, then you know who you really are. You are the one who knows. Just about caterpillars sitting on leaves there, and there's a dragonfly there on the leaf as if camouflaged in some way. Well, you can sit on your dinner, you can sit on the leaf, but once you've eaten that leaf, it's not there. You've then either got to transform into a butterfly, which it looks as though the butterfly came before the caterpillar for some strange reason, in the sense of it's sort of worked in the opposite, well, not the opposite way, because it's what came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, the chicken, no it didn't, the egg didn't, no the egg didn't, the chicken. But of course, we know, of course, the egg came first because the dinosaur laid the egg that the chicken came out of. So that argument was put to rest from an evolutionary point of view straight away. We know the egg came first. But regardless of the scientific side of it, it seems as though maybe you've grown your wings, and maybe if you've grown your wings there, why would you have grown your wings? Through that adjustment, maybe the adjustment is you have grown your wings because you've had to do, in the sense, maybe providing guidance for others, or certainly spreading your wings to help others, or whatever in that regard. But the transformation has recently taken place, and that's why, of course, feeling down, yes, we can say pity party, feeling sorry for ourselves and not wanting to get over this. You don't want to get over it, you want to learn to cope with it, not get over it. But it's that sort of thing that everybody accuses you of doing. But regardless of that, that's really been a form of transformation, literally. Form of transformation. I don't know. That's a bit silly, isn't it, when you say that? But that's just the way we say it. It's the way you tell them. But either way, the transformation has been there, nevertheless, and you were having to. Maybe you weren't ready for big changes, but Butterfly is saying you should have been. You should have been ready for big changes, because the big change is going to come with the judgment, and you know who you really are. You are the only one who can do what you have to do, because you know what it is you have to do. Tiger Brother gives you the willpower. Understand thou thine own will. Love and let love rejoice in the shape of love, and get thy rapture and thy nourishment thereof. Of course, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Remember. And that's another thing, isn't it? Let's see what the immediate future is, in the sense of the judgment that comes after listening to your higher self, becoming awakened, and of course through that awakening you metamorphose into a butterfly that you once were. Maybe the butterfly has become a caterpillar. The caterpillar, you can sort of eat what you want to become. Well, how big butterfly are you going to be next time? It's like as if, although that really is transformation, that you've been going through a transformation period, you could sort of say you're getting like a second chance at being a butterfly or something else, I don't know. Let's have a look here, and we're going to see what we're doing here as we just rotate that card there. And as you can see, you've got the deer, and that's the pathfinder. And that's just really trust your instinct to guide you through this situation. So I suppose in that regard, then of course, you know who you are. Trust your eye. Remember I was about saying listen to your higher self there with the eagle there. Listen to your higher self. Trust your instinct to guide you through this situation. It's all right, those bloody psychics on Facebook and YouTube and retweeting on Twitter and things like that. But at the same time, you are the one in this situation. This is your situation. You are the one who has gone through this transformation, through the adjustment that you've made. For either better or worse, but either way, of course, usually these spirit guides, the power animals, are usually guiding you into what to do. Of course, if it's what to do in the past tense, it's maybe what you should have done. Maybe you should have been the butterfly back then and weren't. But now you can be protected. You are protected right now by the tiger brother who protects you, and of course you know who you really are. In that sense, the insects there, their spirits can guide you as well. And although it may be an illusion in the sense, maybe that's what it is, an illusion. I'm not about deluding yourself, but an illusion. Things that you view now is a bit of an illusion to you in that regard, and that's probably what's stopping you from listening to your higher self, or stopping you from taking charge. The illusion is that you've got no control when you have. Because you know who you are. It's you that's going to do it, remember. This is not him who's wronged you, or anybody who has wronged you. This is you who's wronging yourself by not doing what you should be doing. Yes, you should have had a transformation there. You should have been ready for big changes as justice was there. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you didn't experience a transformation because of it. You should have been the butterfly back then. I said about being a butterfly in the immediate future, didn't we? But you should have been back then. It's the sort of thing that, well, okay, you cut your cloth to you cut your cloth to whatever, as they say, and you just run, or whatever you want to do. But either way, you know who you really are, you know what your capabilities are, you know what you're incapable of, you know what your limits are, what your boundaries are, and that means you're capable of, yes, taking charge of the situation, although you might not think you are, but because you know who you are, you know what your boundaries are, so you know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And in this case, you can do what you're capable of. Doing what you're not capable of is illogical. You wouldn't do that anyway. That wouldn't get you anywhere. But certainly, of course, trusting your instinct is something you've got to do there. That's the judgment. You've got to make the judgment there. Okay, judgment, of course, is about forgiveness as well, isn't it? To some degree, letting go of your judgments is forgiveness. But if you've got to make a judgment, then yes, of course, maybe it isn't about forgiveness. It's just about being pragmatic, about following your instincts to guide you through the situation, as it says there, in that sense. And of course, dear brother there is a protector. So because it's a four-legged one, isn't it? The four-legged spirits, they protect. So you've got like guidance there, just in the recent past. And right now you're being protected by Tiger Brother, who's saying take charge of the situation. Crow in the background guiding you, nevertheless carrying you from there, the transformation that should have been. But you know who you really are. You're being told you know who you are, So you've got no excuse not to do this. Really, you're being told off in a way, sort of, aren't you? You've got no excuse not to do this. The judgment is coming. Letting go of your judgments, of course, is forgiveness. But the judgment, if there's a judgment coming and you're going to become aware of something, there's going to be a metamorphosis, a second chance at maybe another form of transformation, but a transformation that involves you. You know who you really are, so you must follow your instinct to protect you. Tiger can protect you now, by your willpower can protect you now, whereas your instinct will protect you in the future. It's about making that decision, and then the decision being made as you're protected. Protection, knowing who you are and knowing what your limits are, and I don't know if you can work that out. You know what this is talking about. Spirit will be talking to you now, and you know what this is about. I want to also, and I shouldn't do this really, like a 3-in-1. It's like we've had a double bill already. It's bad enough, isn't it? Already. And I really want to, let me just grab what's down here. Let me see if I can grab this bag. And in this bag we've got some runes. So we could sort of like join everything together and sort of create a bit more detail, in the sense, yes, the transformation that should have been because of the adjustment, because of that, the gifu, the gift of the gods was there to offer you that choice, or that chance, then that opportunity, as you could say, or whatever. The gods were there helping you. The gift of those gods were helping you to put something in some order, or whatever. With, of course, the Athala, the inheritance, yes, you inherit who you are. You inherit who you are. Tiger brother there, just indicating there, of course, the adamant. Of course, being adamant and being dedicated and devoted to the situation helps. So just be hell-bent. You've got to be hell-bent, and you are hell-bent to sort this out, and that's why you're going to sort it out, because it's in your genes, I suppose, in the sense, because that's not just inheriting money from like the death of somebody or whatever. You can be inheriting something like an illness, or in this case inheriting knowing who you are, and of course maybe your mother wasn't a bloody pushover, or isn't, or whatever. So you're not a pushover neither. You know who you are, because you know where you come from. And of course, with the judgment that's there, the decision that's to be made, regardless, that will take place, you've got no control over that judgment. You've got no control over that metamorphose and what you'll turn into, or you've got no control over the awakening that will come. But you can follow your instinct and to guide you through that. Yes, you've got need, which is similar to Gifu, isn't it? But the Gifu is like the cross, where that's a straight line down with a line across it diagonally. In the sense, yes, there will be the need, but that's the necessity as well. We can say that's need, like, oh, ending up in poverty with no money and all this. But that also means necessity, in the sense there is, of course, the gift of the gods bringing that transformation through justice. Inheriting who you are, which is adamant, which is dedicated to the cause, devoted to the cause, whatever, and hell-bent on doing this, with the willpower of the tiger spirit saying take charge of the situation, and you've inherited that power to do that. You know who you are. You know who you are, and you're capable of that. You know that. The transformation that should have been metamorphose in its own automatic sense. Before you had control of it. Now, well, you didn't, but actually, I tell a lie. But in a way, you had sort of the opportunity to get ready for it, whereas you weren't ready for it, and that's probably why it's happened in the way that it's happened. Not so much what's happened, but the way you're reacting to it. And of course, by protecting yourself, Tiger Brother can protect you. Your willpower can protect you now while you have the choice to decide what you are going to do and how you are going to take control of it. But of course, the necessity to follow your instinct as the judgment takes hold, as you become awakened, as you metamorphose into something probably a bit more grisly than what you are now. I wouldn't say hardened to it, but certainly maybe you can help others get justice. The transformation that you missed out back then, you can get, of course, for yourself, but you can help others. And of course, what goes around comes around, and so on. And that's as best as we can do for that for now. I really think we're sort of now draining this of energy. We're trying to investigate it as best as we can. But of course, you can end up saying too much and getting lost in a labyrinth, can't you, of words. So I think for now, Spirit has said what Spirit can say for now. And with that, Cari, we just say, blessed be to Odin and all the Norse gods. And we just pack the runes away in that bag there. And then we say, blessed be to Raven and all the power animal spirits who guide, heal and protect. And then we just place those on the bottom of that deck there. And then finally we say, blessed be to Crow, the carrier of souls from darkness into light. And we just lay the rest of the deck on there as we lay the reading to rest, as we close the reading. And for now, Cari, these cards have spoken.